everybody to the Michel Thomas Method Japanese class that we're going to run for you today. I'm Helen Gilhooly, so I'm the co-author of the original Michel Thomas Japanese course. I'm also the editor for all Michel Thomas courses, so I'm the person that takes the authors through the writing process and the recording process, and then I edit the final product. So I'm very excited today to be able to be teaching my two students who I've never taught Japanese to before, and I believe they've never learnt Japanese before. So let's get on with the introductions. So shall I introduce, I've got first of all Emma, you're going to introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Emma Green. I'm the commissioning editor on Teach Yourself language courses. I'm very excited to do this and totally new to Japanese.
Okay, and then we've also got Ed, yes?
Yes, my name is Ed Davidson. I'm the founder of Ferpection, so we do video language, a video language production company. I have studied and learnt a lot of languages, but never ever done any Japanese, and I'm extremely excited to do so. Great,
that's wonderful. So I want to take you through, I know Ed, you're familiar, well, you're both familiar with the Michel Thomas Method, and there are some really important ground rules that I just want to say for everybody that might be taking part in this. The most important thing that Michel Thomas used to emphasize over and over again is that you feel relaxed, because if you feel stressed or if your learning environment isn't a relaxed one, then it is actually very difficult to learn. Of course, that's not just for languages. However, it's a very important point for this course. So do make sure you feel relaxed. Part of that, it's all about the enjoyment of learning a language. And one of the things that Michel Thomas was very, very keen to emphasize with his method of learning was that there was no memory burden on the student. So that's my responsibility. You're not supposed to remember. In fact, you're not supposed to try and remember, because his very important kind of philosophy behind all of this was that when you understand something, then you know it. And once you know it, you won't forget it. It's there in your long-term memory. So it's this whole idea, very, very different to a lot of traditional courses. No rote learning, no drill, no textbooks, no homework. So the idea is that I guide you through a range of structures that we practice and that I will ask you to say, and you will repeat, or you will give to me in Japanese. And if you need any prompts, I'm here to do so. So I think, are you quite happy and clear with those ground rules? Yes? Yep. Good, okay.
we don't have to do anything and you do all the work.
That's it, yeah. I mean, that would be the perfect lesson, doesn't it? Okay. Brilliant. All right. But I mean, the idea of the whole not getting stressed is ever so important, because especially with languages, I think when people learn a language, they often have a block already, because they've learnt languages traditionally, maybe at school, and they've got this feeling, and I hear it so many times, I can't speak a language. You must be really clever. I can't do it. And it's all come about because of this kind of stress, particularly with languages where you have to speak. And that can be quite humiliating or embarrassing in a situation where you don't feel relaxed and you don't feel confident. So Michel Thomas takes that and moves it to something completely different. Okay, now, you will probably already know some Japanese words, because Japan has been culturally and economically and historically a very, very important influence across the Western world. So certain words from Japan have already crept into our vocabulary, and we use them perhaps without really thinking. So I don't know if any of those words are there in your head right now that you would like to contribute. Can you think of some Japanese words that we're all very familiar with in our own vocabulary? Emma?
Konnichiwa. I know you hear it a lot,
yeah.
Konnichiwa, but
that was the one I was going to say.
A lot of people know Konnichiwa. What is Konnichiwa? When do you use that? What does it mean?
Greetings.
It's a greeting. It's a hello, basically. Yeah, that's right. And then often a lot of people know the goodbye as well. Has that one have you come across goodbye in Japanese?
No.
I don't know.
No, that's fine. Okay. Often people have come across sayonara, or the shorter version, sayonara. You often hear that.
Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes it turns up in films as the main character walks off the scene, he'll go sayonara or something along those lines. So,
Yeah.
okay. Culturally, there are some words that have crept in. For example, kimono. Most people know what a kimono is, yeah? A lot of the company names like Toyota, Sony, and so forth. Martial arts has a big influence. So judo is a Japanese martial art, karate, there are at least two that people will be are often familiar with. Okay, so there's also in Japan, in Japanese vocabulary, absolutely wonderful, there are so many English-based words, all right? So you could speak a lot of Japanese with words that actually have come from English. So the Japanese, like every language, has soaked up in more recent times the vocabulary from the countries around them or the countries that influence them. So, for example, but what would they do is they change it, obviously, to their own pronunciation. And there are a few little ways. For example, in Japanese, you generally have a consonant followed by a vowel. So you don't get lots of consonants cluttered together. So if I was to say to you this word, it's been changed to the Japanese pronunciation, but it will probably be familiar. Camera, camera. What would you expect that to be?
Camera.
Camera, yes, okay, camera. So you can see that what they've done here is put in some extra vowels so that it fits the way that they pronounce things. Another word, T-shatsu, T-shatsu. It's an item of clothing.
T-shirt?
It's a t-shirt, all right. So the word shirt has become shatsu. So if you're wearing a formal shirt in Japanese, the word is shatsu. Obviously, they do have their own traditional words, but these words have become more popular. And one final one, hotaru, hotaru.
Hotel.
Hotel.
Hotel. Now, there's a little point here to make that the L sound in Japanese is the same as the R sound. They don't distinguish between the two. So you will often hear more of an L sound and an R sound in a word, or the other way around. And you will hear that when Japanese people speak English as well. And that is the reason. So this is a good example. We would have an L at the end of hotel. The Japanese ending is somewhere between the R and the L, so hotaru. So you could say ru or lu, and it would sound the same for a Japanese person. And then they've added that extra vowel at the end because they don't end words on a consonant generally. There's one exception. Okay, so I'm going to take you through, if you wanted to make a request in Japanese, if you're in a restaurant or at a bar and you wanted to ask for something, there's a simple word that you use, which is, may I have? And that whole phrase, may I have, in Japanese is this word, kudasai, kudasai, K-U-D-A-S-A-I, kudasai. Okay.
Kudasai.
Kudasai. Okay, so just have a go at that. May I have? Would you like to have a go, Ed? Just say, may
Kudasai.
I? Kudasai, lovely. And Emma, would you like to do the same? May
Kudasai.
I have? Good.
Kudasai.
You don't tend to use that word by itself. So it's not like saying please. It really is may I have. I mean, we need to say may I have something, okay? Japanese word order, interesting. The verb or the main part of the structure, and I'll come back to verbs in a moment, comes at the end. So this kudasai, may I have, is going to come at the end of whatever we say. Whereas in English, we would say it at the beginning. All right, so you're going to put that at the end. Let's say you would like a camera. You're in a shop, you've seen this nice camera, you point at it and you say, may I have a camera? Okay. When we speak in Japanese, we also need to add little tiny, what I call particles, if you like, little tiny bits in between. And we're only going to learn one today, so that's nice and easy. And that one is O, just an O. Sometimes it's spelled W-O, but it's a very soft W, so O, okay? And we're going to put that, good, we're going to put that between the item that you're going to ask for and the may I have. So it becomes, the phrase really becomes O kudasai, O kudasai. But we need to put the item in front of it, otherwise it sounds strange, okay? So O kudasai. We're going to ask for a camera first of all. Emma, I'm going to get you to see if you could say, may I have a camera? So we had our word camera, which was camera, camera. So it's very, very similar to the English. And then you're going to add those two other parts of the sentence to say, may I have a camera? Okay?
So, camera o kudasai.
Wonderful. Camera o kudasai. Lovely. Okay. Ed, I want you to ask for a t-shirt, okay? You're in the same shop, but in a different department. And you're going to use, so the word for t-shirt was t-shatsu, t-shatsu. So you're going to say, may I have a t-shirt, okay?
T-shatsu o kudasai.
Beautiful. T-shatsu o kudasai. Lovely.
I don't know what accent it is that I'm doing there.
Sounded good.
Do not worry about the accent. I have to say, really good news. The good news about Japanese is the pronunciation is very, very straightforward. And of course, they do have differences around the country, different dialects, but generally it is not a complicated language to pronounce. I, having learned French, find that far, far more challenging, okay? But so don't worry about pronunciation. At the moment, we're just getting those structures and getting an idea of how the language feels. But that sounded great, both of you. Okay, next I'd like you to ask, we'll just try two more things before we, could you ask for a kimono? So you've gone into the Japanese section of your large department store and you would like to buy a kimono or you would like to look at it. May I have a kimono? So how would you say that? I'll ask Emma to do that one.
Kimono o kudasai.
Lovely. Kimono o kudasai. That's great. Okay. And Ed, I'd like you to ask for sushi. Now, most of us know sushi, don't we? It's often misunderstood as raw fish, but actually the word su means vinegar. So sushi means vinegared rice. And the most important thing about the sushi is that vinegar mixture that is mixed into the rice to give it a kind of sweet and sour taste. There's lots and lots of toppings, some of which, of course, are raw fish, but not 100%, not strictly speaking. So the sushi means vinegared rice, okay? And just so you know, there are chefs or families of chefs in Japan. They train for years to make sushi properly, and they have their own vinegar recipe which they guard with their lives, you know. So lots of the families keep hold of their special sushi recipe. So that is a very, very important element. So Ed, you're going to say, may I have sushi?
Sushi o kudasai.
Wonderful. Sushi o kudasai. Okay. Now, we can also use the words this and that, which are really useful if you're pointing at things, okay? Then if you're not sure what the actual word is in Japanese, you could just say, may I have this? May I have that? All right. The word, they rhyme actually, which makes them nice and easy to remember. The word for this is kore, and the word for that is sore. So we've got kore and sore. Nice. Okay, that's good, isn't it? Kore, yeah. K-O-R-E, and then sore, S-O-R-E. Kore, sore. So with knowing that, how do you think, Emma, that you would say, may I have this? Applying the same rules that we've learned so far about the order of the sentence, how would you say, kore for this, may I have this?
Kore o kudasai.
That's it. Kore o kudasai. As simple as that. And Ed, may I have that? So we're changing the K to an S, if you like, if you want to look at it that way. May I have that?
Sore o kudasai.
There we go. Great. Sore o kudasai. Good so far. Okay, if somebody then wants to say to you, yes, go ahead, you may, then this is a very popular phrase, very useful for all sorts of situations. The word for yes is hi, rather like if you're high up or low down, hi. Dozo. Dozo just means go ahead. People use it, for example, if you opened a door and you wanted someone to go in front of you, you'd say dozo. If you hand somebody something, dozo. If you've asked for sushi and the person will say to you, hi, dozo, it's got the idea of help yourself in that particular context, okay? So, Ed, you're going to say, may I have sushi? And Emma, I'd like you to, well, let's do Ed first. May I have sushi?
Sushi o kudasai.
Sushi o kudasai. Emma, would you say, yes, go ahead?
Hi, dozo.
Lovely. And if you've ever want to prompt for dozo, I used to teach my students, it's a bit dozy. You're a bit dozy, but you're saying, yeah, go ahead. Dozy, dozo, but it's a zo at the end, not a z. Okay. Hi,
Okay.
do. Right, we're going to move on now. I mentioned a bit before about verbs. Michel Thomas always said the thing about the way verbs are taught traditionally is they are described as doing words, all right? For a lot of people, that's kind of meaningless. It's not helpful. He came across with a much more pragmatic way of working out if something was a verb, all right? I mean, lots of people understand verbs fine, but lots of people don't. So he said, if you can put I or he or she or they or we, but let's just stick with I. If you can put I in front of it, then it is a verb. I go, I eat, I walk, I talk. Okay, so it's a nice, easy way of, it's a verb check, isn't it? So we're going to look at verbs because they are the structure of the language. And another thing about Michel Thomas, and I just love this kind of metaphor. He used to see structure, if you like, and vocabulary as two different things. And for him, the structure of the language was like the architect. So the teacher is the architect who designs the house, and the structure of the house is the grammar, the verbs, and so on. Okay, and then later on, when you've got your house and you've had it designed by your architect, by your teacher, you, the student, can then furnish it with the vocabulary. So you can choose those things later once the house itself is built. So that's what we're doing today. We're beginning to build the house. Okay. Right, so I'm going to introduce you to two verbs, and there's fantastic news about Japanese verbs. They don't have endings as we do in English, and in other languages even more so. So we don't have to change the ending depending on who's doing the action. So you know, in English you'd say I eat, he eats, and you have to put an S at the end, and it sounds odd if you don't. And in French there's even more, and so on and so forth. Okay, in Japanese the ending is always the same. When we are saying I eat, he eats, you eat, they eat, the ending stays the same, and the ending is the same for every single verb. We're going to learn today what is known as the neutral polite, which is the safest ending for us to use as foreigners speaking Japanese, all right? And that ending is masu, but the su at the end is so quiet that it really just sounds like mas, all right, with just a soft S at the end. It's spelled M-A-S-U. That is the ending for all the verbs we are going to learn, and for all verbs, actually, okay? So masu. We're going to learn first of all eat and drink. Eat is tabemasu. And think of tabe, T-A-B-E. Think of tabe like a tablet that you might eat, all right? I mean the medication tablet rather than the other type. So tabemas, all right? That is eat, tabemas. And then the word for drink is nomimas, N-O-M-I. And I always think of that, if you need a little prompt for that, that when you go out perhaps drinking, you need to nominate a driver. So you nominate a driver when you're drinking, okay? So nomimas and tabemas, all right. Now, what we've learned so far is that we're putting that important part of the structure, as we do to kudasai, we're putting the verb at the end. And we're using that little tiny O to separate the verb from the item that we're going to eat or we're going to drink or that we're asking for, okay? So I'm going to go to Ed first this time. Ed, I'd like you, everything that we've done so far, pulling those rules together to say, I eat sushi. I eat sushi. Do you want to have a go at that?
Is it tabimasu sushi? Or sushi,
right.
Sushi or tabumasu.
That's it. Brilliant. You've applied the rule. It's sushi or tabemas. Now, just so that it's always the verb at the end. Okay. And once you've understood that, it just feels normal. Okay. But obviously we've only just started doing this, so well done for working it out. Sushi, we need that little O, and tabemas. Sushi or tabemas. Do you want to have one more go? I eat sushi.
Sushi or tabemas.
Brilliant. Sushi or tabemas. Okay, yeah? Emma, I want you to say, I eat sandwiches. And the word for sandwich, when I say it, it'll sound so like the English, you'll think, great. Sandwichi, sandwichi. Okay, sandwichi. I eat sandwiches.
Sandwichi o tabemasu.
Brilliant. Sandwichi or tabemasu. Now, it's also important to understand that that could mean he eats, we eat, they eat. It will depend on the context. Now, they do have words in Japanese for I and you and we. They don't actually use them very much unless you have to be clear. So whereas in English, we always say it, in Japanese, it's just when it needs to be clear who it is that's doing the eating or the drinking, all right? So Ed, would you now say, he eats sandwiches? And just to say that word sandwich again, sandwichi. He eats sandwiches.
Sandwichi o tabemasu.
Brilliant. Sandwichi or tabemasu. Okay. Now, I'll just give you a little word. It's a tiny little word for and. There are different words for and, so we need to be a bit careful, but this one is perfect for this situation. The word for and is to, T-O. It's a bit like toe, but it's shorter, all right? To. And that means and when you're listing items. So if you're saying I eat sushi and sandwiches, for example. Okay, so Ed, do you want to now have a go at just lengthening your sentence a little bit and saying, I eat sandwiches and sushi? Quite a combination that, isn't it? I eat sandwiches and sushi.
Strange, what a strange guy I am. Sandwichi to sushi o tabemasu.
That's it. Sandwichi to sushi o tabemasu. That's it. Excellent. Okay. Emma, new challenge for you. We're going to go to our nominated drinker. Yes, so we're going to go to the verb to drink, or I drink. Okay. And I'd like you to say, I drink coffee. Now, the word for coffee is the English word, and it has been softened to fit a Japanese consonants. The Japanese consonant for an F is much closer to an H. So the word for coffee sounds like this, kohi. Kohi. So it's still coffee, but we've kind of softened the F into an H. Kohi. And okay, so I'd like you to say, I drink coffee. Nominated drinker. Okay, or nominated driver, actually.
Kohi or nominas. Or nomimas.
That was it. Nomimas. That's wonderful. So you've taken the first bit of nominate and you've added mas to it. Okay. Nomimas. Kohi or nomimas. Lovely. Would you like to try just extending that sentence? The word for beer, again, it's come from English, bieru. It's that same thing where we're not just ending on an R, we're softening it with a U, bieru. So you're now going to say you drink coffee and beer. And I know I gave that little prompt for and as to, but you need to make it much shorter, to. Okay, so I drink coffee and beer.
Kohe to bieru o nomimasu.
That's lovely. Kohi to biru o nomimasu. Let's just try those two words so that you're confident with the, so it's kohi biru. Kohi
biru. Kohi biru.
Okay. Everybody tends to get beer after a while, and coffee shops in Japan are everywhere as well. It's a really, really popular kind of pastime. So kohi biru. Lovely. Okay, I'm going to add one more eating word so that we can just say a little bit more about what we eat, and that is this word. When I say it, I'm sure you'll know it straight away. Aisu kurimu. Aisu kurimu.
Ice cream.
Ice cream, yes. So you're getting the idea of things just get lengthened out a little bit and softened out a little bit, but basically aisu kurimu, and then the mu at the end instead of just m. So aisu kurimu. So Ed, have a go at saying I eat ice cream and sandwiches. Okay, I eat ice cream and sandwiches.
You're giving us some nice mixtures, Helen.
I know.
It's lunchtime soon as well.
Ice cream to sandwichi o tabemasu.
That's it. Ice cream to sandwichi or tabemasu. Great. Okay. Right, I'm going to go back to our this and that. Then we can say lots more things. So Emma, I want you to say, I eat this. Okay, just try that. I eat this. The this has a K and the that has an S at the beginning, if that helps, but I can help you more if you need to. I eat this.
Kore
Lovely.
or tabemasu.
Kore or tabemasu. Now I'd like you to say, I eat this. I drink that. So just extending it.
Kore or tabemasu to sore or nomimasu.
Lovely. Kore o tabemasu, sore o nomimasu. To we can't use in this context. So to we can only use, and I know because in English we've just got one and, but the Japanese have very, very specific ands, and their to is listing a list of items. So if you want to say two nouns together, sushi and sandwich, that's fine. But when we're linking two sentences, we're going to do something slightly different. Not complicated, but there we go. Okay, good. And I would like you to say, Ed, I drink that, I eat this.
Sore o nomimasu.
Yes.
Tore o tabemasu.
Good. Sore o nomimasu, kore o tabemasu. That's fantastic. There's some more good news. I like good news. Is that as well as being what I do, it also covers the future tense. So you can also be using tabemasu, nomimasu, and so forth for saying I will do something. Again, context tells you. I'm going to give you a time expression for tomorrow, because then it makes it very clear. If you say tomorrow, then obviously we then know that the mass has become the future, all right? Because we're saying I will do something tomorrow. The word for tomorrow is ashita. Ashita. Now I've got a really silly way of recalling this one. Ash and tar, but it's ashita. Ash and tar mixed together, put it down on the road and wait till tomorrow for it to set. Now that's very, very long, isn't it? But there you go. It might or might not help you. It helps some people. So ashita, ashita. Okay, ash and tar, ashita. So Emma, can you say tomorrow I will eat sushi?
Ashita sushi o tabemasu.
That's it. Ashita sushi o tabemasu. Great. And Ed, can you say tomorrow he will eat sandwiches? I'm not putting an emphasis on the he. Tomorrow he will eat sandwiches.
Ashita sandwichi o tabemasu.
Good. Ashita sandwichi or tabemasu. Emma, tomorrow we will eat ice cream.
Ashita ice cream o tabemasu.
That's it. Ashita ice cream or tabemasu. Just at the very end, it's creamu. Okay.
Creamu.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's ever so soft, but ice cream or tabemasu. And Ed, tomorrow they will drink beer. Actually, tomorrow they will drink beer and coffee. Let's do that.
Okay. Ash, thank you. Ashita kohi to biru nomimasu. O nomimasu.
Yes, good. Ashita kohi to biru o nomimasu. Just so you know, Japanese often do drop that all, but it is really important to be correct in a language before you can learn when and how you can drop certain things, okay? Because sometimes it's really important that all is there, otherwise it can change the sense of a sentence. So I'm just saying that you would have been understood in that context, but it's better to try and be correct. Okay, I'm going to add one more verb to our collection, and that is the verb to see, to look, to watch. It covers all the English. One covers all of them. And that is mimas. Me, look at me, look, me, mimas, okay? Yeah. So how would we, and then I need to give you this word. See if you can work out what this word is. This is an English word that has had to be slightly adjusted for Japanese pronunciation and also has been shortened. And in fact, we shortened this word as well. So in Japanese, it is terebi, terebi. Now, a B in Japanese is because they don't have a V sound. So
Television?
Yes, it is. It's television. So tere, the R and the L, yeah, they're very close. So it sounds like an R. It could sound like an L, tere. And then the B taking the V, and the shun has disappeared altogether. So terebi is television. Ed, how would you then say, with this new verb I've introduced, look at me, how would you say, I watch television?
Telebi o mimasu.
Good. Terebi or mimasu. Now, I'm also going to add a couple of useful time expressions, and they're really nice. You'll like them. The first one is sometimes. So I sometimes watch TV, for example, and sometimes is tokidoki, tokidoki. It sounds like a clock ticking, and that's about time, isn't it? Sometimes. So tokidoki. Have a go at that, Ed. Sometimes. Just say sometimes.
Tokidoki.
Lovely. And Emma, tokidoki? Sometimes.
Tokidoki.
Yeah.
Tokidoki.
Okay. Brilliant. So Emma, have a go at saying, I sometimes watch TV.
Tokidoki, terebi o mimasu.
Good. Tokidoki, terebi o mimasu. Now, neither of you have asked me, and that's fine, where we put tomorrow and sometimes. You've naturally put it at the beginning, and that is correct. That is where it goes in Japanese. Where you cannot put it in Japanese is at the end, because we can say, I watch TV sometimes. I'm going to school tomorrow, can't we? But we can't put it at the end because we need to keep to this rule that it's the verb that goes at the end. There is some flexibility in Japanese sentences, but we need that verb at the end. So to be safe for this, we're keeping, just as you have done, we're keeping those things at the beginning, okay? Ed, are you still using tokidoki? How would you say, I sometimes eat sushi. I sometimes eat sandwiches.
Sushi, okay. Tokidoki sushi o tabimasu.
Yes.
Tokidoki sandwichi o tabimasu.
Brilliant. Tokidoki sushi o tabemasu, tokidoki sandwichi o tabemasu. Fantastic. Emma, how would you say, I sometimes drink this, I sometimes drink that?
Tokidoki, kore o nomimasu.
Good.
Tokidoki, sore o nomimasu.
That's it. Tokidoki kore o nomimasu, tokidoki sore o nomimasu. That's great. Okay, I'll give you one more time expression, and that is the expression every day. Okay, every day. Mainichi, mainichi. If that makes you think that my knee is itchy, I don't know how that helps you to then link it to every day, but maybe your knee is itchy every day, but mainichi, mainichi.
Mainichi.
That's it. Ed, how would you say every day?
Mainichi.
Mainichi. So every day I watch TV. What would that be?
For either of us? Or?
Oh, sorry, I didn't say your name, did I? Ed, what
Sorry.
would be every day I watch TV?
Well nominated.
You were there.
Good nominating. So every day I watch TV.
Yes.
My itchy knee. What was it? What was it again?
Yeah, mainichi. Yes, that's the my itchy knee. Mainichi. Yeah. It's a bit short.
Okay.
Mainichi.
Mainichi telebi mimimasu. O mimimasu.
Oh, mimas.
Oh, mimas.
Yeah, because we've done the two verbs we did first of all with tabemas and nomimas. If you think about it, mimas has become like almost a shortened version of nomimas. So it's only one sound before the mas.
Okay.
Okay. Just try it once more.
Okay.
So watch TV every day.
What's the itchy knee again? So I've now just got itchy knee in my head.
Which is good, 'cause you know, itchy knee is 1 and 2 if you're counting. Itchy is 1 and knee is 2, just to confuse things even more. Itchy knee.
Okay.
Yeah, think of my, and then just nichi,
Mainichi. Okay. Mainichi telebi omimasu.
Lovely. Mainichi terebi omimasu. Okay.
Mainichi.
Right. We'll just have a go at lengthening our sentences a little bit more. So Emma, I want you to have a go at saying, every day I watch TV. Sometimes I eat ice cream. Okay. Every day I watch TV. Sometimes I eat ice cream.
Mainichi terebi o mimasu. Tokidoki ice cream o tabemasu.
Lovely.
Ice cream.
Good. Well done. Ice cream. The ice bit, it isn't much different than ice in English. It's just got a really soft oo at the end. Ice cream. And the only little thing is you lengthen, well, we do in English, the cream is actually long in the middle, so you lengthen it to cream. Ice cream.
Ice cream.
Lovely. Okay. So mainichi terebi o mimasu. Tokidoki ice cream o tabemasu. That's lovely. Okay. I'm just, Emma, do you think we need to wind this up now? I haven't been able to keep an eye on the time.
I think we should do, yes.
Yes, okay. Right, shall I just get you to say one more sentence each? Would that be good? Yeah, just to summarise what we've done. Yeah. All right, so we're coming towards the end, unfortunately, of this short class. And what I'd like to do now is just pull together bits and pieces that we've done. So we'll do a couple of long sentences each. So Ed, I'll come to you first. So you're going to say, just one moment, sorry. I drink beer every day. Sometimes I drink coffee. So I drink beer every day. Sometimes I drink coffee.
Okay. So every day I drink beer, sometimes I drink coffee.
Yes.
Mainichi biru o nomimasu.
Yes.
Tokidoki kohi o nomimasu.
Good. Tomorrow I will eat sushi. So it's just adding on to the very end of that. Tomorrow I will eat sushi.
Ashita sushi o tabemasu.
Right. So what I'd like you now to say is every day I drink beer. Sometimes I drink coffee. Tomorrow I will eat sushi. So every day beer, sometimes coffee, tomorrow sushi.
Mainichi biru o nomimasu. Tokidoki kohi o nomimasu.
Yes.
And the last one was?
And tomorrow I will eat
tomorrow.
sushi.
Ashita sushi o tabemasu.
Lovely. So mainichi biru o nomimasu. Tokidoki kohi o nomimasu. Ashita sushi o tabemasu. That's lovely. Okay, Emma, over to you now. So I'd like you to say, tomorrow I will watch TV. May I have sushi?
Tomorrow I will, what, sorry?
Sorry, tomorrow I will watch TV. May I have sushi?
Ashita terebi o mimasu. And the second bit was?
May I have sushi?
Sushi or, what was that word?
You don't have to remember. Kudasai.
Sushi or kudasai.
Brilliant. Just so do it once more. Tomorrow I will watch TV. May I have sushi?
Ashita terebi o mimasu. Sushi or kudasai.
Lovely. Ashita terebi o mimasu. Sushi or kudasai. You've done really, really well. In such a short time, you've covered 3 verbs. You've covered the present and the future. You've added some time expressions. We've had ashita for tomorrow, tokidoki for sometimes, mainichi for every day. We've had a variety of vocabulary, some of it English based, but a variety of vocabulary. And you've also learned how to say, may I have, just in that short sort of 25-minute slot. So I'm going to hand over to you to say how you feel it all went. I don't know who wants to go first. Do you want to go first, Emma? Because I can see you.
Yeah, it went quickly.
Yes.
And yeah, it felt relaxing. Sometimes I forgot a bit of the pronunciation halfway through sometimes.
Yeah. Pronunciation, it takes time. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I will remember the phrases we've learned.
Good. Well, of course, you don't have to remember. You've just got to understand, and then you know it, and then it's in your long-term memory. So, you know, that's the way the method works, is this kind of gradual building, the fact that the teacher leads you, and that you're not put under any stress or tested, or, you know, say something over and over and over again. That's really the joy of the method. And the teacher's there as well to help you with the pronunciation. So that's the other beauty of it, you see. What about you, Ed? How did you feel?
I really like the Michel Thomas Method. Just purely because I think if this had been like an app or a book, you would have just fallen on some kanji, and then you're like, okay. And personally, I don't really find that interesting. Whereas this is just having a conversation, and you just sort of tell us, oh, so this is how you say this, and you kind of explain it gradually.
Yes.
Which suits how I like to learn. So slightly biased, but I like it.
Well, a lot of people like it. That's the thing. I think it works for people. And it's interesting you brought up the written language, because a lot of people have a block about Asian languages such as Japanese and Chinese, because they assume, and it's often presented that way, that they're very, very difficult. Now, no one's saying, you know, learning a whole new script isn't a challenge, although it's really, really interesting, I have to say. But the spoken language sometimes gets ignored in all of that. And the speaking Japanese is a joy, actually. It's not full of grammar rules, and it's not full of irregularities. Obviously, it's got grammar rules, but what I mean is it doesn't have a lot of complex rules, such as English is a good example. English is a very complicated language grammatically, and Japanese isn't. So sometimes Japanese gets badly presented because of its writing system. But it is a joy to speak. Okay.
How do you say thank you?
So to say thank you, we've got two ways of doing it depending on how polite you want to be, because one thing I've not said, or I've sort of implied, Japanese is a very polite language. It shows respect to people, which is why there are different levels of verbs. So we're learning the neutral polite. The way to say thank you, if you just want to say thanks, it's arigato, arigato. I always think it sounds like a gâteau, you know, French gâteau at the end, arigato. But to say it in a polite way, we need to put the very much at the end, if you like, gozaimasu. And there's that mas again coming in, because it's a neutral polite verb. So gozaimasu, arigato gozaimasu. However, if you get stuck, arigato is fine. It wouldn't be rude. But to make it more polite, arigato gozaimasu. Do you want to try it? Just saying arigato. Ed, you say, because I can see you in front of me, say arigato.
Arigato.
That's it. So lovely. So you've got the gâteau. Think about the gâteau, the French gâteau at the end. That should help you get there. Arigato. And Emma, do you want to say arigato gozaimasu? So you've got this gozaimasu, your mas ending at the end. Arigato gozaimasu.
Arigato gozaimasu.
Lovely. Okay.
Thank you very much, Helen. Thank you, Ed. Nice to see you.
Sayonara. Sayonara.
Sayonara.
Have a good weekend.
And you. Bye.
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 Bye.